Hey guys, today we're playing Rocket Knight on the PlayStation 3. I also believe this is available on the PC and the Xbox Live Arcade. I don't know. But I do know it's on the PS3 because that's the version I am playing. So if you're not familiar with Rocket Knight, there is Sparkster, Rocket Knight, and I think Rocket Knight 2. Which might have been Sparkster. I don't know. There was a sequel of Rocket Knight on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, and they were different. They had different names, and I think Rocket Knight was on the Sega Genesis. So Sega Genesis got 2 games, Super Nintendo got 1, and they were all awesome. I still like the first one. Out of all of them, I was excited that they actually were going to make another Rocket Knight game. So let's play it. I've actually had this game for a while. I'm going to start a new game. This game's super fun, but I don't know. It just feels nothing like what I remember, and it might just be a biased nostalgic thing, but I don't know. It still looks nice and it plays fun. You don't really have the pigs too much in this game and their various little devices, which I kind of miss. I guess this is the deep storyline that they're going to put down. This came out during the time where just about everybody needed a mascot, like for their gaming console or whatever. Well, this game was actually made by Konami, so mascots were popular even if you didn't have one representing the console. So Konami was pretty much, in my opinion, the best company to develop games for the Sega Genesis. I'd even have to say better than Sonic Team, but that's my personal opinion. I haven't played this in a while. So you can double jump like that, and you can do that move. Oh, it's telling me. As you can see, I haven't played this in a very long time because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So let's see. There's a pig icon. So he's a possum, so obviously you can hang upside down. Square to melee attack. Those little wolf characters are not nearly as iconic. Mechanically, I believe this is a sequel. This isn't like a remake, even though it's called Rocket Knight. I think that's just the thing to do these days. It's just to rename the game with the original's title, like they're starting over again. Kind of like they did with Mortal Kombat, but even though they were like retelling the story to some extent, even though it was different, it was still technically a sequel. Especially if you watch the beginning part. That's a different video altogether if I ever make it. So it's pretty simplistic. You basically have the same moves you had in Sega Genesis. It's just, I really would have liked it if they would have kept the sprite-based graphics. I mean, these look nice and crisp, but to me this looks like a mobile game. It doesn't remind me of Rocket Knight beside the actual character and moves and basically the soundtrack. Though I do like the Sega Genesis soundtrack more, but a lot of people don't. Like when this game came out on Super Nintendo, I didn't like the soundtrack as much. There's something about the Sega Genesis that I'm super biased about when it comes to a soundtrack. Come on. Oh, I'm pushing the wrong button. See, Sega Genesis, you didn't have all the buttons that you have on this PlayStation controller. So I'm pushing the wrong buttons. But like, I know technically the Super Nintendo had better sound, but like when it came to Konami games, even the Castlevania soundtracks, which everybody and their grandmother would probably argue with me, I liked Castlevania's Bloodline soundtrack better than Super Castlevania 4. I don't know, I was a Konami fanboy all the way up into the mid PlayStation 2 like era, and then I don't know, not all their games started to come out that great. Like Silent Hill 4 kind of sucked, but I think they were publishing games with different companies and maybe weren't the best choice. Although I was super stoked about a new Castlevania and the PlayStation 2 Castlevanias, and I'm sorry if you like the game. I think they're terrible. Like, if you wanted a good Castlevania game, you had to play the Nintendo DS and Game Boy ones. Really, in my opinion, I still think that's the case. Although the people that made the last Castlevania on the Xbox 360 and PS3 that you hear me grumble about from time to time are making the Nintendo 3DS version and a sequel to pushing the wrong buttons again. Sometimes on a PlayStation controller I think I'm playing with a Super Nintendo pad. It's weird. But I'm scared that the games won't feel like not what they did, which I hope they feel like the older games, but since they basically changed the whole storyline, the gameplay mechanics and the music and everything else, I can't just cut that in half. Let's see. I just don't know if Castlevania will ever be Castlevania, but the Japanese companies weren't doing so great either. With Castlevania Judgment, again, sorry if you like that game. That was just so bizarre. The character changes in that game. Not particularly a fan. Oh, you gotta miss those platforming parts. This game would have looked cool if it had 3D support. There's a lot of foreground and background stuff that would have stuck out pretty nicely. And I don't think that this is pushing the hardware beyond its limitations by any degree. Honestly, it might be a little fuzzier, but I think this game could have been done on the PlayStation 2. Oh well. It was a arcade game, so I'm not going to expect the full retail experience. It's still fun though. You actually can play the demo, at least on the PlayStation Network, if it's still up. I believe it is. They just changed the whole PlayStation Store. I don't know how to navigate it that much. Sometimes they'll say like something's better and it ends up being more of a pain in the ass than it was anything in the ways of like helping you. Kind of like so far of what I've seen on Windows 8. I have no idea what that's all about. Windows 8 looks like what my Windows cell phone looked like. Which now I have an Android phone. I really like it a lot better. I know I'm one of the few people, but I kind of refuse to get an iPhone. It just doesn't appeal to me. But then again, I always have a knack for the underdogs. I guess Apple used to be an underdog at one point, but not anymore. Sparkster, you don't look so cool in 3D, unfortunately. That was pretty long for level 1. Treetops. You couldn't get a more original level name than that. Anyway, as I was saying, I hope they go back to Castlevania's roots, at least in the sequels, but I'm holding my breath for it. But that was like a 10-minute ago conversation. So now you can shoot these fireballs. So why he didn't have these powers in the beginning of the game is unknown. Oh, you can charge like Mega Man. That's convenient. I like the little discrete background directions. Let's good to know that they're wearing a helmet, even though if they crash, they would probably horribly be mutilated. But, you know, safety first. If he just raises, one of those propeller guys just raise their hand just ever so slightly, they're going to be an amputee. I don't know why I feel compelled that I want it. That's always fun. If you blow up one of the mines nearby, especially if they have like a string of mines attached to them, they'll slowly blow up consecutively until it reaches them. It's good to know when you're in a mine. There's a few of these levels throughout the game. This would have made a good 3DS title, I think. Especially now thinking about what I said about this game being in 3D. It's like a game you could play on the go, definitely. I'm glad it's on the PlayStation though, so I can play it on the TV. He's lowering my Zelda-like health system. One thing about this game, you sure do have to do a lot to get trophies, but the thing about arcade type style games is that usually they're smaller, so they only have small portions of trophies available, so they can't give you a trophy for anything. But that's if you're even into collecting trophies. Like, I'm not into collecting them per se, I just like the sound it makes and showing me that I've won something, and I know I can't compete with the majority of my friends, so I'm not competitive with trophies by any sense. Plus, I think it'd be rather silly if you tried. Oh, I'm getting hit. It doesn't even look like I'm trying to attempt to avoid any of these things. This game starts off fairly easy, but it gets difficult later on. I mean, it's not as original. Sorry, I said this backwards. Or started to say it backwards. It's not nearly as hard as the 16-bit games in the series. Why they skip the 32-bit generation and the PlayStation 2 generation is beyond me. Konami really should think about coming up with like some sort of collection that's not just what they released on the Xbox Live Arcade type of collections, or just like Symphony of the Night, other arcade games that you'll pick up and play once, but just all their classics. They had a small like Castlevania and I believe a Contra collection on the PC, but I heard it wasn't made all that too well. But something along the lines of that, like I would kill for a proper Castlevania sequel, especially one that has the Dracula X remake in the original, and then like the NES games, and be able to get the Japanese version with enhanced sound and maybe translate it, and have a properly translated version of Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. I would definitely buy that. I'm talking about different games like playing this. This boss is pretty simple. I'm talking, I'm not even paying attention to the attack. The black small will go kill you. If you touch it, it doesn't kill you, it just takes a hard on. Just that stuff he shoots at me looks like something that would eat away at your soul. Got that cool sword, but this little jetpack's leaking all this black smoke. Guess he invested all his money into the sword. Oh, you look a little down on your luck there, guy. I'll get you while I rotate in the air in slow motion. I thought he was actually gonna do something. Shame on me for giving him any sort of credit for doing anything diabolical. But anyway, that was Rocket Knight for the PlayStation 3. If you could get this at a reasonable price and you like the older games, I definitely recommend it, especially if you like 2D games. Don't expect the same nostalgic feel of the older games, but it's competent. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite arcade games. I mean PlayStation Network arcade games, not like arcade games. Like my favorite PlayStation Network arcade games, probably a toss up between Battlefield 1943 and the Pac-Man Championship Edition game. So if you haven't gotten those, definitely play those. But yeah, this is a competent game, pretty fun. If you like the original and old Konami games, definitely try out the demo. Alright, you guys, thanks for watching.